Hello everyone, my name is Noe. I'm a Nevada Census Regional Coordinator, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a brief presentation about the census. We'll be discussing the origins of the census in the US, the importance, some of the challenges, as well as how you could get involved. A census is a count of the population, and it is in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 2 says that every 10 years an enumeration or a census must be done so that they can determine how many representatives each state will have and how much federal funding each state will receive. Looking at the representation first, the Constitution also says that for every 30,000 people, there must be one representative. And if a state has less than 30,000 people, they are guaranteed that one representative. And after a census is completed, they look at where the population is moving to or moving away from, and that is how they can redistrict or redraw the boundaries for the 435 seats in the House of Representatives. An example is here in Nevada is that after the 2010 census, the population grew so much that it required us to receive an additional member in the House of Representatives. And that is how now we have 4 representatives. However, if we have an undercount, or if not everyone in Nevada is counted, that means we could potentially lose that voice in Congress. The second reason why the census is important is because of federal funding. And Nevada is positioned to receive over $67 billion over the next 10 years. If there is an undercount, that means that money that should be coming to Nevada will instead be going to another state like New Mexico, Arizona, Texas. And that is why it's important that your household and your community and your neighborhood is counted so that we can have our fair share of federal funding, but so that we can also have, our 4 representatives and potentially even increase the number. And so where does that funding go? Well, it's going to a variety of programs, new hospitals, clinics. If there's a pothole in front of your house, down the street from your house, federal funding is used, to create these new clinics and to, fix and maintain the streets and the freeways. Another way that the funding is used is in education. That could be for the creation of new schools. It could also be for after-school programs. So if you participated in any after-school program in the last 10 years, federal funding was used, to support and to fund those types of programs. That's how you would have benefited in the last 10 years. How you could benefit directly, still on the topic of education, the next 10 years is through financial assistance. If you do go, to higher education after high school and you qualify for financial assistance, federal funding from the census data from the census will determine how much financial assistance you would be able to receive. And in 2016, as a state, we had received over $6.2 billion for 55 programs. And in that 1 year alone, for Pell Grants, we received over $129 million. We received over $385 million for student loans, and we received over $9.7 million for career and vocational programs and education. So that would be barbering, cosmetology, constructions, those types of programs. And so if there is an undercount, that means that for financial assistance, students might not be able to receive the maximum amount that they should have received. So how would you be able to respond, you or your household? Well, by now, the image on the right, we would have received several of these invitations that has a phone number as well as, how you could complete it online. And in April, the last form that was sent out also sent a paper questionnaire with all the questions for you to respond. And so it's important to know that you would have to count everyone in your house, whether you're living with your aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, a friend of the family who's not related to you. They would also and should also be counted in the household or in the place where they're living. And so how confidential or safe is the information that we provide? It's going to be very important, very confidential, because as soon as the census receives the information, they store it in an internal private network, and they also convert it into statistics. Another way that it's safeguarded is that census employees cannot share that information with anyone. Your landlord, immigration, the police, they cannot share it with anyone. If they do, they could go to jail and um, pay a fine of $250,000. Some of the challenges that we have is that government distrust for the reason that I had just mentioned in the previous slide. People don't know, what the information is going to be used for. And the second one is just that misinformation, because there's a lot of information out there and a lot of things are changing on a daily or a weekly basis. It's hard to know, what's true and what's not. And the last one is the hard to count communities. This could be immigrant communities or just communities where the English is not the first or primary language spoken. And for children under the age of 5. So if you are 14, 15, even 16 years old, that means the last time the census happened here in the state, there's a good chance that you were undercounted, because children under 5 were one of the most undercounted people the last time around. So in terms of the self-responses, here in Clark County, we are at 58%. We're just shy of the national response rate as of Saturday or Sunday, Mother's Day. And as you can see, the final 2010 was 60%. But when the people came knocking from the census to collect the information for those households that didn't respond, those percentages got bumped up to about 70%. That still means that a third of the households did not respond to the census, and that money was left on the table, money for all these programs that had been mentioned in the previous slides. So a very quick exercise you could do at home would be to ask your parent or your guardian if they've already completed the census. If they have not, encourage them to do so, and then count all the people in your household. And remember, even the people that are not related to you but that may live there should be counted. And then what you're going to do is multiply that by 20,000, and that's going to give you an amount of how much your household brought back to the state. You could also then do that with your classroom and talk to your teacher and see how much funding each of the other households or your classmates brought back. And that'll let you know how much the school, the classroom brought back, and then possibly even looking at the school. And other ways that you could help would be just to encourage everyone, friends and family, to respond to the census and share the facts. If you know anyone who's not sure what the information is used for, you now know, what that information is used and how it can and cannot be used. So it's very important that everybody get counted, because at the end of the day, the more people that are counted, the more funding that is coming back to our community, and more funding that should have been coming to our community in the first place. So with that, I thank you so much for allowing me to give you this presentation. If you or anyone you know has a question about it, please send it to your teacher, and they will get in contact with me, and I'll be happy to respond to any of those questions or concerns. Thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck in the last week or so of school.